Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for scrolling through and clicking on this video. For those who are new to the channel, my name is Patrick Tawaya Matope, and I do deliver content on social work on this channel. Anything to do with social work, specifically children's services, that's where I do practice, but I do deliver content on social work in general as well. In today's topic, I'm just going to talk to you about specific advice or a few points or tips that I can give for those who are intending to register with Social Work England. This will include international applicants as well, in the content that I'm going to be delivering today. And I just want to put a disclaimer to say I'm not talking on behalf of Social Work England in this video. Neither am I talking on behalf of anyone else, but these are just nuggets from my own experiences and the support that I've given over the years to people who are registered in Social Work England and those who are coming to actually practice in England as well. So first and foremost, the first thing I'm gonna mention in terms of registering Social Work England is that the process can be quite complex and it can be draining. It can be too demanding on you as a person, but you need to be patient. You need to be making sure that whatever you're being asked to do, you actually need to do it. Otherwise, you do not get registered. That's it. And being registered as well, sorry, being registered as well doesn't guarantee you securing a job in England or in Wales or any other part of the UK for that matter. However, remember, Social Work England is the regulatory body that regulates social work practice and the functions of social workers within England. When you go to Wales, they've got their own separate body, but for those who are registered with Social Work England, can also obviously practice in Wales. When you go to Scotland, they will have their own body, but Social Work England regulates social work within England. Whether you're working with adults, whether you're working with children, or whether you're working in private fostering or whatever it is, but Social Work England is the regulatory body which is established by the government in England. So, first and foremost, the most important thing that you need to be mindful when registering or when intending to register with Social Work England is to check that your qualification is recognized. How do you check that your qualification will be recognized? If you know of other people who have gone through the same uni like you, who are registered, you can actually check in with them and ask them specific details on how they've gone about it. But at least that should give you an assurance to say if somebody who has been at the same university like you is registered with Social Work England, especially for those who qualified outside, then there is a bit of assurance to know that your qualification can also be registered. But remember, Social Work England does assess international social work qualifications on a case-by-case basis. But the other thing that you can also do to make sure that your qualification is commensurate with the expectation of a social work qualification within England is to contact. They used to call it NARIC in the past, but I think they now call it ENIC, ENIC. They used to call it NARIC, NARIC. So you can send your qualifications to them. They will evaluate and they give you a certificate which will indicate that your qualification is on the same basis or is equivalent to a social work qualification in England. If it's not equivalent, then it might be a bit difficult for you to prove to Social Work England that your qualification is admissible for you to register as a social worker in England. So what you'll need to do is to make sure that you prepare your transcript. You need to provide your transcript, the syllabus details of the qualification that you did, and if you've taken through your qualifications through evaluation with ENIC or ECTIS, you can actually provide the details or provide the documents which they would have provided you. And if your qualification does not meet the UK standards, what do? You may need to take additional courses to make sure that your qualification meets the standards. Usually, when they evaluate your qualification, they will tell you exactly what you need to do to make sure that your qualification meets the standards of a social work degree, of a UK-based social work degree. Or you might end up actually doing a social work degree with Open Learning University, which you can do from all over all the parts of of the world, and then that will enable you to actually register as well. Somebody asked the question around whether one can register with a certificate in social work or a post-qualification, postgraduate in social work. I understand in the olden days they used to admit people with diplomas and postgraduate qualifications in, if you've done psychology or sociology and you've got a post qualification. I'm not quite sure about now these days whether they are still doing that. So you need to check that out with Social Work England. You can send them an inquiry email and they will gladly respond to you with the expectation and what needs to be happening. Point number 2 is to make sure that you provide proof of your English language proficiency. How do you provide proof of your English language proficiency? They used to ask on whether your qualification was taught in English, and you need to provide proof that your qualification was taught in English. But I think nowadays they would want you to also provide an evidence that you've passed the IELTS academic test. IELTS as in IELTS academic test that you can take at any British High Commission or any other providers who are providing that particular test. The minimum score should be 7.0 for you to be able to prove that you are if you have got a good command of English basically. However, with no less than 6.5 in any section of the test that you have taken. And that's one sure way of proving your English language proficiency. Really, some applicants may be exempt if they can prove that they've worked in an English speaking social work setting in the past. You need to provide evidentiary evidence about that. However, remember there are some countries who are exempted, like Jamaica. I know it's on the list. There are some English speaking countries which are already exempted from this requirement, like for example Australia, New Zealand, Jamaica. There are some most of those English speaking countries, they're exempted from this requirement, but you need to provide proof that you come from that particular region. And point number 3 is to make sure that when you're applying, you need to prepare and submit a police clearance, or what we would call locally a DBS check, but in other countries it's called a police clearance. This will provide a criminal record check for you, or it's also called certificate of good standing in some other countries, which is provided by the police, local police. This needs to be for every country that you have lived in for more than 12 months in the past 10 years. So if you've lived in 2 different countries in the past 10 years and you've lived more than 12 months in each one of those countries, you need to provide police clearance from each one of those countries to make sure that your application goes through without any hindrances or without any issues. Point number 4 is to make sure that you obtain all your employer references well in advance and you submit them when you submit your application, because that's going to be proof for them to indicate that you've been practicing, and what you've been practicing is actually social work. If you don't have social work experience, you might need to start to think about how you can obtain that experience, whether it could be voluntary, whether it could be any other means that you can actually think about for you to actually obtain that experience. And the other thing is you need to provide evidentiary evidence to verify your identity, and you also need to pay the fees which are required. You can go on their website. Fees are changing. I know they are also in the process of consultations to change registration fees at the moment, so I'm not going to dwell much on the registration fees, because I know I did another video previously which was encompassing issues to do with the fees, so you can always go on their website and check. But I know it was around 490 something pounds which you would pay for them to verify, which they would call a scrutiny fee. So you need to pay this amount, but you also need to submit certified copies of your passport, your identity documents, your school certificates, and all those kind of things. You need to submit them. There's a non-refundable assessment fee that you need to pay. If you're an international applicant, you need to check their website, and they'll give you that amount. And if you've done all this, it's possible that sometimes they will look at your documents and think, no, you need to take a competence assessment. So you need to be prepared to take, a potential competence assessment. As an international applicant, you may be asked to complete, an assessment of your skills, an assessment to demonstrate your experience and all that, so that you meet the UK standards. So you need to be mindful about that. And you could also, they could ask you to conclude or to submit any case studies of work that you have done, or you can actually they may ask you to undergo a proper face-to-face interview, on Teams or whatever, on Skype or on Skype or whatever. But they may ask other extra things that some people may not necessarily have been asked, because remember, application and your suitability is treated on an individual basis. So you need to be mindful about that. What are the tips that I can give somebody who wants to register Social Work England? One, you need to start the process early. The moment you think you need to start doing this, you need to start the process early. And all those things that I spoke about earlier on, you need to be making sure that you've got those already, so before you even start to make the application. For international applicants, the only thing I'll say is it takes a bit longer than local applicants, so you need to make sure that you start the process as soon as possible and start gathering documents well in advance before you even start to make your application. Demonstrate your CPD, continuing professional development. This needs to be ongoing. While you are making your applications, you also need to be continuously improving yourself, in terms of the education, in terms of your knowledge and all that, skill set and all that. You also need to read Social Work England's professional standards so that you can be able to make sure that you evidence that you are able to meet those standards as well. So you need to be mindful about that. And you need to be prepared to undertake any additional training that they will identify. If they say your social work qualification is not deemed to be equivalent to a UK qualification or an English qualification, then you may need to take a period of adaptation or to complete a UK-based social work program. If you are in the UK already, there are many other programs that you can take. For example, Return to Social Work. That's one other avenue that you can take, which will enable you to actually, be on the Return to Social Work program and then evidence whatever they want you to evidence while you are, employed, and then you are able to register first, and then you can use the title of a social worker. So with those few nuggets, I hope you have grasped something. If there's a specific question, put your question in the comment section. If you've got anything that you want to add to this video, please put your comments in the comment section as well. If you've recently registered with Social Work England and if you feel that I've left out something, put your comments in the comment section, but be polite, making sure that other people are also reading these comments. With those few nuggets, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have appreciated, and I hope you have learned something, a thing or two from this video. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that when I post, you'll be the first person to know. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.